Hello viewers, and welcome to a new edition of Asian Vibes. My guest today is Mir Sanjana Tarannum, who passionately promotes local food. How did that happen? Local food, when did that passion arrive?
I think it really started when I started my work with Roots to Harvest, and this is why I moved to Thunder Bay. My degree has been in environmental sciences, and I have always been an academic and environment-focused person. When I started working with Roots to Harvest, I started working with the community and in a setting where we use food as a tool to bring communities together. And I think by working with them, by working at an urban farm site where I planted seeds, saw the food growing, saw the plants going, went and weeded them every day, went and watered them every day, put that much effort into growing food, I started feeling strongly about the food sector and promoting local food, and just getting people to know about how much work goes into it, and when they're eating a local meal, how much they're helping the local farmers.
And does that relate to where you come from?
To some extent it does. I come from Bangladesh, which is mostly an agricultural country.
Exactly.
And growing up, every time I would go to the village, I would pass by rice and paddy fields. We would go into sugarcane bushes and pick sugarcane, and then we'd bring it home and eat it. We would go to mango orchards. My grandfather actually has a massive mango orchard, and we get fruit sent to us every year. And it's just being in an environment like that, and then coming all the way to Canada, not expecting to see something like that, and then being so closely a part of it, it has been an amazing journey.
Awesome. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about Bangladesh?
Yeah, for sure. So Bangladesh is a very small country. It's in South Asia, and it is surrounded by India on 3 sides, and the Bay of Bengal is on the southern end. The country, its landscape is pretty diverse. I come from the capital, which is right in the center of the country. If you go up north, it's mostly flatlands, and that's where most of our agriculture happens. We have fruit orchards, we have a lot of rice and paddy fields, we grow wheat and corn, and then if you start going south, that's where the landscape becomes a little more mountaneous. So we have the Chittagong Hill Tracts, and farming is a little bit more difficult. So people often farm on the sides of the hills, and fisheries is also a massive sector. So because that area is so close to the Bay of Bengal, a lot of rivers meet in that end, and so when we have fresh water, people do a lot of hatcheries, and fish and rice is such a big part of Bangladeshi culture. It's even when we have our Bengali New Year's, it's fish and rice is one of the main dishes. So this sector is one of the most important, and it's a sector that needs to be protected. And being in environmental sciences, working with that kind of stuff has always been one of my passions, and that kind of actually works into the food sector, because producing food, it's so connected with the environment. You're using the soil, you're using chemicals and pesticides, and it's affecting the environment. It's such a close relationship that it has to be maintained and regulated, and I would love to be able to work in something like that. And here at Roots to Harvest, I'm promoting growing local food, and I feel like it somehow relates to it, and I want to work on it even more and see where it goes.
When you were mentioning about food and being an integral part of your culture, it's very Asian as well. Food is very, very integral, and traditional food, especially traditional food, which we are really losing our touch with. And I do recall there's a harvest festival.
There is
around October.
Around October. So Bangladesh has 6 seasons rather than 4, and one of them is around October, which is when all the food is harvested, and new rice comes into the house, and the women of the house, they use that new fresh rice to make desserts like rice pudding. And they would grind up that rice and make it into rice flour, and they would make cakes out of them. We call them pita, and we often use milk, and there's a molasses that comes from plum, from sugarcane, and also from date plums. We use that as a sweetener, and it's just very traditional. We use a lot of spices in our food as well, and that goes into desserts too. So sometimes we'll have a sweet dessert but with a spicy ting to it. So yeah, it's really interesting.
I know, I can see that how closely you are. You link your work with the passion for food as well. They go hand in hand. When you were talking about your journey for academic journey, So you studied environment science.
I studied environmental sciences.
And then you took up food as your specialization?
I haven't actually. It's interesting that you asked me that. I studied environmental sciences, and I had always wanted to go into research, into environmental research. And during my 5-year study at the University of Guelph, I did a lot of co-op work terms where I worked with children, with high school children and elementary school children, and I taught them about the environment, about biodiversity. I worked in camp settings. So because of that experience and because of my background in environment, Roots to Harvest hired me on as a school program facilitator. So my job has been working with kids in Thunder Bay and teaching them about food production. So food has never really been my specialization, but being here, it's starting to become. So I'm starting to get more into it, and I've been here for 4 months, and I feel like I have learned so much.
Oh, 4 months?
4 months.
In Thunder Bay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And before that you were,
I was in Guelph. Yeah.
So basically Roots to Harvest saw that passion in you and have created this position exactly, fitting
and I'm so glad that I'm fitting in, and I feel like this is a position where I can personally grow. While I'm teaching the kids, I'm learning from them, I'm learning from my coworkers, I'm learning from being in the field and actually growing my own food, which is something I have never done before. So I feel like this is definitely an experience that I would not have gotten anywhere else.
Frankly speaking, I really don't look at the labels when I go to the groceries. I mean, I just pick what I need and never really bother to look at, if I want to have grapes, I just pick up. And then later I realize it's grapes coming from California.
Right,
Can you imagine the distance it has traveled and how it's impacting, climate change? And
it does,
emissions,
And it's interesting because I am actually going to be running one of the programs at Thunder Bay High School. It's called Food Miles. And here we're going to talk about where our food comes from and the transport, that the fuel cost, the energy cost that it takes to bring all of the food in and make a meal. It's substantial. It adds up. And this is why we're trying to promote eating locally. We have farmers markets happening in Thunder Bay every Saturday and Wednesday. When the urban farm sites in Roots to Harvest were running, we were having farmers markets at the volunteer pool on Mondays and Thursdays, and even now, like currently, farmer markets are running from our Lily Street urban garden site. So there are lots of opportunities for people to buy locally and to see how their food is growing. And I feel like if we can educate people on how to use local food in their meals and where to get their local food from, people would definitely be more interested in buying local and
promoting
the environment.
Local, promoting local stuff.
People are very eager to do that. It's just you have to show them how to do it, and people are honestly so supportive and helpful, and it's been amazing.
All right, we will continue on that on those discussions on educating on where do I get these local stuff, besides the farmers market.
Yes.
And also a little bit on why going local.
Yeah, of course.
So dear viewers, stay tuned. We'll be right back with Sanjana. Hello viewers, welcome to Asian Vibes. We are talking to Sanjana about why we should go local in terms of acquiring food. And you were talking to us about farmers markets.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us, can you relate that to the markets that we have grown up with?
Yeah,
I recall my father going every day to the markets and getting those fresh vegetables. I mean, gosh, look at the colors, the brightness of those fresh vegetables and variety of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the kind of variety of greens, for example. And there's to be just dishes made with those greens, right? Shag, what we call them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So how do you compare, or how do you relate to the markets that we have seen back home to the markets that we are at?
So this is interesting because I just remember the other day we were having a farmer's market set up, and my coworker was washing up some cilantro, and I went and smelled it, and I distinctly remember this is exactly what a bazaar back home smells like. Yeah, and I was honestly so surprised because every time I shop here, I've been living in Canada for 6 years, and I go to grocery stores to shop. Back home, my dad used to go to those bazaars to shop where food would come in fresh every morning.
From the
farms, from just outside of the
villages,
city. There's a massive, I remember in Dhaka, there's a massive area called Kauran Bazaar, where food comes in massive trucks from all over. Yeah, and they unload them in the morning, they ship them to different bazaars, which are markets, and they sell them fresh every day. And I would often go with my dad, and then we would pick fresh fruits and vegetables and bring them home. And we would make a meal fresh, and my dad would go to the bazaar pretty much every other day to get more food, and it was always fresh food that food was cooked with. So it's interesting to see the farmers markets here, because it kind of gives me the same vibe. How we run our farmers market. So we have 2 urban garden sites at Roots to Harvest, and I used to work out of the volunteer pool site, and I used to work with 13 high school kids. And 2 of my coworkers, and every Monday and Thursday we would have a farmers market. And in the morning, our kids would go out and they would pick their vegetables. They would pick beets, they would pick kale, radish, all sorts of vegetables, and they would wash them, they would prepare them, and they would set up the market stand, and people would come in from all over the area and they would buy our food. And it was so amazing to see it, because it was just like home.
Just like home.
Yeah, yeah.
And these kids are from schools?
These kids are from different high schools.
How do you recruit them? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so how we recruit them is one of our programs is working with the different schools. So as I mentioned, my role is a school program facilitator. I would be going in, because the school year has just started, I would be going into the different high schools and I'd be running garden programs. What is interesting is most high schools in Thunder Bay have gardens in their their backyard.
Oh, most of them.
They do. It's pretty amazing, and some of them we actually help to build. And we grow lots of different things. We grow potatoes, carrots, beets, onions, and all sorts of things. Some of the high schools have greenhouses, so we can grow some tomatoes in there as well, tomatoes and cucumbers and squash. And we do it with the kids, so kids, they choose what vegetables or fruits they want to plant. They plant it themselves, they turn the soil, they go in once a week and water them. And by doing that, they learn about gardening, they form a passion for it. And when they see their own food growing, they bring it back in during harvest and they make meals out of it. So they're being really closely connected with their food that they're growing, and it's an incredible learning experience.
And it's such a nice hobby.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Food.
I'm sure some of our kids have gone home and started their own gardens after working with us. Yeah. And so when we work with these kids, we let them know about our summer program. When school is out, kids are able to apply for a position with Roots to Harvest. We call the position an Urban Youth Farm Program, and they would be our summer interns. So they would have to contact their guidance counselors, and there's an application form that they need to fill out. And after that, there's a selection process. The Lakehead District School Board helps us with the selection process, and they are also the people who fund us for the Urban Youth. For the Urban Youth Farming Program. And after that, we make our selection, and we usually have about 12 to 13 kids working with us for 6 weeks in the summer.
And what age group are they?
So they're between 15 and 18 years old. So they are high school kids.
High school kids. What kind of questions they ask you when they actually start with this program? What is it that they're so curious about?
Mostly they're curious about how much outdoor work do I have to do? Do I have to shovel any manure? And the answer is yes.
Yes, you do have to shovel manure. Yeah, you have to get your hands dirty if you have to grow.
When they work with us, it's not just working in our farm.
Correct.
But every week we have 3 days when we go out to different farms outside of Thunder Bay.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. You were mentioning about urban farming.
Yeah.
So can you help me understand what exactly is urban farming? Yeah. So it's besides the community schools. It's besides the schools.
Yeah. So other than the schools, urban farming is when we have a farm inside the city boundaries.
Right.
And what we have is a large plot of land, and we have dug it out, made the beds, we are growing our food, and it's right in the middle of the city. So this is our urban garden site. What we also do is we go to other farms which are outside of the city, which are more either homesteads or commercial farms, and we go to their locations and we work as essentially farmhands. So we do whatever needs to get done in the farm, shoveling manure, clearing out a barn, weeding, clearing out trails so that they can take their snowmobiles out, just pretty much anything that needs to get done. So yeah,
and mostly vegetables. You spoke mostly vegetables?
Mostly fruits and vegetables.
Fruits and vegetables.
Fruits and vegetables,
right. Yeah. And I understand you're coming today straight from the field.
I am actually, yes. So I spend my day today collecting apples from different houses in Thunder Bay. Apples, yes. So we had sent out a message on our social media about anybody who wants to donate apples to us. Sometimes they have apple trees and the apples aren't getting picked. They're falling on the ground. Yeah. Might as well get it. Give it some good use. Yeah. So we go and pick those apples, and then we bring them back to our site at Lily Street, and then we press them for cider. So we have a massive cider press, and it's really nice, actually. It's so efficient to work with. And so we press that for cider, and we sell them. And this is one of our fundraiser initiatives at Roots to Harvest.
So you prepare apple ciders and you sell them back to through the farmers market or through your
we sell this through our farmers market. People can also buy it at our office, which is our Roots to Harvest office. We actually have a storefront, and we are still working on it. It's getting renovated, but we are going to have a storefront soon. And what we also sell is local granola. So we make the granola in our kitchen. We have an industrial scale kitchen, and we use it to make our granola. It's all local ingredients. And we also sell honey. So
honey?
Yes, we have bees at our volunteer pool site. And we collect honey from those bees, and we spin it and strain it and jar it, and then it's also one of our Roots to Harvest fundraisers. And the kids who worked with us during our 6-week program, they also worked on the honey and granola.
So they're all helping with these products, productions.
Yeah, they're getting experience from all different sectors.
Oh, wow. Yeah, straight from actually working in the field.
Yeah, working in the field,
digging up the soil to actually processing it and then packaging it and then selling it.
And then talking to people, talking to the different curious minds who come to our farm. Lots of kids come to our farm, so they're getting experience there
entire
as well.
life cycle of the product. So we continue talking, Sanjana. I want to know a little bit more about your programs and your involvement with the youth programs. We'll be right back, dear viewers. Stay tuned. Hello viewers, welcome back. We're talking to Sanjana. You gave us a lot of information, and I can totally see that how involved you are with kids and youth and all your programs and apple cider. I would definitely it's a very big part of it. So when Sanjana is not doing all of these, what is Sanjana doing? What is her other interests or hobbies or recreation?
So one of the biggest things that I do when I go back home is I call up my friends and I chat with them. I have just moved to Thunder Bay 4 months ago, and most of my friends are still in the southern part of Canada.
Right.
So my brother lives in Winnipeg right now, and my mom and dad are in Bangladesh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your mom and dad
they're still home. So a lot of the times I come home, I make my dinner, and I would turn on my computer and I'd see if they're online, and I'd chat with them and eat my food.
So that's through Skype?
That's through Skype or Facebook.
Oh, Facebook. Okay.
Yeah.
Social media.
Yeah, social media. Okay. I'm honestly so grateful to social media.
I know, for being connected with your parents, and they see you, they actually
exactly, and they're the people that I can talk to in Bengali.
What do they ask you, Sanjana?
Just
how was your day today?
And what did you
eat?
Pretty much. Well, how was your day? What did you eat? What did you do at work? And I'll ask them things like, like if they had an event, because in our culture they have gatherings pretty much every week, and I'll ask them about those.
Every day there's a festivity?
Pretty much, and they all get together and they eat food and they hang out, and I miss them so much. So I ask them about those things, like what happened, who showed up, like how are things going, how's my second cousin doing, just things like that.
I also understand that there are very specific dishes that are prepared for certain festivities.
There are traditional dishes, and I think you can relate to it because a lot of the food in our culture is pretty similar. It's just cooked a little differently. So for Eid, for example, which is one of the biggest celebrations in the Muslim culture, and Bangladesh being a Muslim country, Eid is one of the biggest things that happen. And
holidays for days.
I think schools go out for a month. I remember when I was there, I had a month break for Ramadan and Eid, like all together. And it was amazing. So meat is definitely one of the biggest things. I don't think I could ever go vegetarian just because of the way I grew up.
And now you're growing all the vegetables in the world. Okay.
Yeah. So there's curry, there's rice, there's Bengali desserts which are really hard to explain because I don't really know how to explain them. They're sweet. They use molasses. They use a lot of milk, but they also use different types of spices to give it a kick. But it's also it merges really well, and it's a different kind of flavor.
But lentil is something that I find I have to explain a lot here. Lentils?
Yeah.
We have how many? At least 15.
There are so many varieties
of lentils, and lentil is so rich in protein.
It is.
So we have a lentil soup, or we call it dal.
Yeah.
Almost every day.
It's honestly so easy to make, but I have never been able to perfect it yet. So I'm still working on it. I'm working on it.
Yeah, so a traditional meal, for example, would be a rice dish.
A rice dish, some kind of vegetable, a stir fry. We have something called a partha, which is like a mash. So you get vegetable, like any kind of vegetable.
Any vegetable.
It could be potato, it could be okra, it could be eggplant.
Like a mashed potato, but
with other vegetables.
Other vegetables.
And it's usually spicy. So you put some mustard oil in it. You put some salt and onions and chili powder. And you mix it all up, and it's delicious. Yep.
And you have it with rice.
You have it with rice. We pretty much have everything with rice.
With rice.
And we eat with our hands.
Oh, we eat with the hands.
Yes.
Did anybody ask you that? Why do you eat with your hands?
I haven't been asked why.
Questions?
I've been asked how.
How?
Okay. Because it's an art.
It's an art, of course.
Yeah.
I totally can relate, because it's an art how you assemble the food.
And you can get food here, you can get food
it has
here.
to be very neatly done as well.
I feel like you learn it through practice.
I just feel that you're so connected with your food that time when you're eating with your hands.
For sure.
You really feel the taste of it.
Yeah.
And hygiene wise, if you're you just wash your hands before your meal, and that's expected, of course.
Yeah.
So that's so cultural.
It is a cultural thing. Yeah, it's a very cultural thing.
I just feel it's very connecting. To your food.
And I do miss it sometimes when I'm outside and I am embarrassed to eat with my hands.
Oh, no,
but then sometimes I'm just like, you know what?
I'm going
to teach you guys something new today.
I understand. Yeah. So there's rice, lentil dish, there is a green,
there's some kind of vegetable. There's usually vegetable stir fries too.
And fish.
Like fish is so important. Fish is one of the most important dishes, and I feel like I've talked about it. But there are so many ways to make fish too.
There's a saying too
it's called Mache Bhate Bangali, which is fish and rice make a Bengali. And 30% of our country is rivers. So you can see why a lot of people depend on fishing as a livelihood. And when you go to the markets, fish is one of the things you always see.
You know what, Sanjana, we offer fish as a gift during weddings.
Yes.
Is that still in your culture too?
That is a massive part of our culture, and not even during weddings, even during Eid or other festivals or even the New Year's. Families would send massive fish to their in-laws. So if the daughter is married, the dad would buy the biggest fish that they can find
in the market,
and they would send it to the daughter's house. And it goes vice versa. Grooms send it to the bride's house, and it's a cultural symbol. It's
a cultural symbol of fertility or whatever they have in terms of prosperity and. Yeah, so you were talking about, we talked about food so much. My mouth is watering now. And I really enjoy the bhartas.
They're amazing.
Really enjoy the bhartas. And I didn't realize that there were, so many varieties of making the vegetables, using the vegetables that way.
For sure.
It's not just the bhartas, but it's also you cook it with the fish or with the a non-veg dish.
And Bangladesh being an agricultural country, a lot of the houses, especially in the rural areas, have little gardens in their back, just like subsistence farming, and people grow their own food and own vegetables.
Absolutely.
And they eat whatever they're growing, so they learn to cook with a lot of different kinds of vegetables because meat is expensive.
Very, and that's very common here too. I see a lot of people taking so much pride in what they grow, and in the summer when I go to someone's house, everybody's giving me something to take home, zucchini or
for sure. And it's so nice to see your own vegetables growing. It just feels like you put so much care into it, and now you can reap the benefits.
Awesome. Sanjana, if someone wants to volunteer, and contribute to local food system or local food, whatever campaigns that you are floating or you advertise, how does one go about it?
If you want to volunteer with Rooster Harvest, the best way is to call in our office. Erin Beagle or Aliyah or Kim, somebody will pick up the phone and they will be able to guide you.
And it's not necessarily just the youth.
No, anybody can volunteer, and you can always just come into the office and have a chat, take a tour. There's always somebody in the office, and there's always things happening. I know on Tuesdays we have a local food pairing event happening at the Sleeping Giant Brewery where we make a meal out of something local and we pair it with a craft beer, and then people can come in and enjoy the food and learn more about the ingredients that we're using in the food and what local food we're using that day. So things like that are always happening.
Any dish, you prepare a dish with
with some sort of local ingredient, and it varies every week. So depending on what's growing.
And that goes with the beer.
And last week, actually, actually this week it was zucchini chips, and it was a pizza with zucchini on it, and it was a beer.
So creative and so innovative.
Yeah,
just different ways of using your own
and it's
vegetables.
really cool. And Rooster Harvest is always doing things outside of the workplace.
Well.
Yeah, outside of the box too. We do fundraisers. We did a really long table in July, and that was when we closed off both ends of St. Paul Street, and we literally set up 14 tables in a really long line, and we had people sitting on either ends, and they had a meal together. Everybody in the community just on one table.
Oh, awesome.
And it was a great event. 5 top restaurants in Thunder Bay was involved with the catering, and this was a fundraiser initiative, and you know, it was such a success. A lot of people showed up, and it was an amazing time.
Awesome.
So, and those are the kind of things that are always happening at Rooster Harvest, and if anybody wants to volunteer, they're more than welcome. Like,
absolutely,
we would love people coming in and volunteering with us.
And learn about, how to...
Yeah, for sure. And just learn about our initiatives and the activities that we're doing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sanjana.
Yeah, thank you for having
me. And wish you all the very best with this journey of finding local food and passing on this good information to all of us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Good luck.
It's been great.
Thank you so much, viewers, for staying tuned to listening to Sanjana's passion for local food and educating us on why we should, I will for sure look into the labels next time I buy my vegetables and fruits. Thank you so much for watching.